really successful in that field and model their approach or model their way of thinking and everything, so that you can also get the same result. So for health too, I thought maybe the best way is to find the healthiest people and then model their approach, and you can also become healthy, right? So I started looking into healthiest people, and then luckily Japan is considered to be one of the healthiest countries in the world. I don't think it is the healthiest, but it is one of the healthiest countries in the world, or at least it is one of the countries with the longest life expectancy. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show this. In this website, oh, that's not there. But anyway, in this website, it's got a list of countries by life expectancy. In several different researches done, Japan always comes at the top. Depending on the year, it changes a little, but mostly, it comes within the top 3 countries. And however, I mean, coming from Japan, I don't think every Japanese dish is healthy and every Japanese person is healthy. So you don't want to run every Japanese person. We need to be careful who you want to learn from. So who are the healthiest people in Japan? First of all, you don't want to look into young people because they have a terrible diet. They're probably the opposite of the image you have about Japanese people. They eat at McDonald's. You probably know a lot about that. Eat at McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or Yoshinoya, which is a Japanese fast food chain serving big bowls. And when they cook at home, they don't even cook. They go to convenience stores, buy, like instant noodles or some lunch boxes or rice bowls at convenience stores and so on. So you don't want to model those people. And if you want to model people, maybe you are better off looking into older generation because they still retain the traditional Japanese diet, which we call washoku. Washoku means Japanese food in general. But washoku is also it has become the kind of a UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage now. It is regarded to be a healthy food. Partly because it has a good balance. Washoku usually has 1 soup and 3 dishes. Usually you have rice, miso soup, and pickles, and 3 side dishes. It's a typical style of washoku. Therefore you have a good balance of carbohydrate-based food, vitamin-based food, and protein-based food. When I'm here in Totnes, people have a great diet. You have a lot of good food, but if you look at the mainstream culture of the West, especially in America and so on, I find like some breakfast doesn't have any vegetables. You have only maybe sausages and eggs and coffee, or bread, but no vegetables. Or I find some school lunches too have like the fried chicken and French fries or something. No vegetables. That doesn't happen in Japan. So even though some people have a bad diet in Japan, they still relatively have a kind of balanced a diet. However, older people don't have a good diet anymore. By the way, can you spot any problem in this diet?
Well, I'm cheating, but I do know.
Yeah.
It's the white rice.
Yeah, yeah. For example, white rice. Yeah. You probably know that. Have you ever met any Japanese people who eat brown rice?
I think it's changing a little bit though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, my girlfriend is now brown rice,
Yeah.
but it's not fashionable.
I
Yeah,
see.
normal, everyone's white.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, there are people who eat brown rice, like us too, but we are still in the minority, and most people eat white rice. Yeah. Even Koyasan, which is the famous Buddhist temple, they serve white rice now. Yeah. And also, most vegetables are not organically grown. Yeah. Organic vegetable, they are organic vegetables, but they're not sold at supermarket here, like here in .net. So it is quite difficult to get hold of organic vegetables in Japan. Yeah.
What about the fish? Is that often fresh, kind of free, caught well?
Not always, not always. Some fish is fresh, but others are like a farmed fish. Yeah. And nowadays, I'm a little wary of fish eating in Japan because we had an accident at the nuclear power station in Fukushima, so the ocean is pretty contaminated. So depending on where you get your fish from, you need to really check where it comes from. And the problem is the Japanese government doesn't provide information regardless of safety of the ocean or fish because of the kind of political reason. So it's difficult to trust. Yeah. And most like fish industry or even farmers, they trust the government. They just follow the rules which are set by the government. So nobody kind of checks to see whether it is safe or not and so on. Yeah.
I don't think it's just Japan.
Yeah, right.
Not just Japanese seas.
Right.
I think seas altogether
Yeah.
there are metals in the fish.
Yeah.
So it's better to eat smaller fish than bigger fish.
Right.
Because the bigger fish eat the metal that's in the little fish and it's accumulated.
Right.
So, and maybe less fish than we used to think was a good idea.
Right. Yeah.
Because of that.
Right. Okay.
Can I ask, go back to the white rice problem and why it's particularly bad for considered to be ill? Is it a moderation issue, or is it something particular about white rice that is considered
It is a moderation. I don't really think it is bad to eat white rice, but if you eat it every day, it's too. You know about the carbohydrate and some, low carb diet and so on. So recently people avoid taking too much carbohydrate. Yeah, it doesn't mean you cannot eat any carbohydrate.
Yeah,
it's
course,
the level of moderation. Yeah, and so usually when you eat the grain, it's better to eat in a whole state. Yeah. So the brown rice is better than white rice, and whole wheat is better than white flour, and so on. So in the same idea, it is better to avoid white rice.
Just
Yeah.
on that subject,
Yeah.
Japanese obviously one of the healthiest nations.
Yeah.
But one thing they do have is quite a high rate of like stomach cancer,
Yeah.
which I'd read somewhere that was due to the kind of overeating of rice within the diet. Is that something?
Yeah. So okay, as far as white rice is concerned, I'm going to talk about in a minute. Because, there is a section about it.
Okay.
Okay. So about 100 years ago, most farming was done organically. They were just using organic fertilizers, and therefore people had access to natural ingredients. And then Japanese people had a good diet. Yeah. But now most older people just follow the modern farming because they don't really question so much. So my neighbors, many old people in my village, I just eat regular vegetable, and they make fermented food using regular vegetable and so on. Yeah. Therefore, their diet has changed a lot. So Now, I wouldn't say they are a good role model in this sense. Yeah. And they also eat white rice too. Yeah. They probably, I don't know any old people who eat brown rice. Yeah. I mean, other than their health conscious, the regular old people don't eat brown rice. Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing is, eating brown rice wasn't part of Japanese culture, in spite of our image.
But brown rice wasn't?
Wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
And I heard they'd associated, like part of the reason old people weren't eating because they kind of associated brown rice with more like poverty, and so white rice was like
well, the rice itself was very affluent thing. Most people were
Right.
eating other type of
Ah.
grains.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So what grains would poor people have eaten 100 years ago?
Like barley, and I don't know the English words for it, but there are some other grains they're considered reed now, growing in rice field, like hie or awa. Yeah, they are in fact, we now
Pull it out.
every
Yeah.
hie and awa because they are the weed. We don't want them, but people used to eat those.
Yeah.
The poor people eat, hie and awa more.
What's it called in Japanese?
Hie,
The weed that used to be eaten
hie,
here.
hie,
Here.
yeah.
Wonder what that, yeah. We'd have to look it up.
Yes.
Okay.
I think
So-
it might be amaranth.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up later.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, who could be our role model? Yeah. So, in my opinion, young, naturally conscious people in Japan are the healthiest people in Japan at the moment. I actually gave a talk on Thursday about a sustainable movement in Japan, and I talked about there's a new trend in Japan taking place, and many young people moving from cities to the countryside, and they're leading a sustainable lifestyle. So they are the people who have a good diet now. They grow rice and vegetable using organic farming, natural farming, or permaculture. So they have access to good ingredients. And also they make fermented foods such as miso and pickles, themselves. And many of them bring up their children naturally. Therefore, they want to make sure that the food they give to their children are completely natural and healthy. Yeah, so they pay attention to the ingredients and lots of things about food. Older generations were healthy because they followed the tradition, which was passed down from their parents. And when the tradition was good, it was good. But because they weren't health conscious themselves, when the social norm changed, they accept the change without question. Yeah. So when the farmers start using agricultural chemicals or chemical fertilizers, they didn't question. It was something, JA. JA is the farmers kind of association, told them to do, so they just did it. Yeah. Or when the land is contaminated by radiation, if the government say it is safe, they just believe in the government without questioning. Yeah. But young, naturally conscious people are different. They made a conscious decision to live naturally, in spite of the fact that the vast majority of people go in the other direction. Yeah. So they check a lot of things themselves. But the good things about them is that they are still Japanese. They live in Japan, and they have the grandparents to learn from. Yeah. So some people in their late 80s to early 90s still retain the traditional skills of making fermented food or farming and living in like Satoyama, which is you circulate the resources within in the village and mountains and so on. So a lot of young people learning from their grandparents before those skills vanish from culture. Yeah. But also they study from books and the internet and to check what they learned from their grandparents work or not, and they experiment with different things, and if something works, they use it, but if it doesn't work, then they are flexible enough to be able to change. Well, all the people weren't flexible enough. They said, oh, this is the right way, and they have to follow it no matter what. And it is the same for Japanese teachings available abroad, whether it is a dietary method or farming method. Many of them were developed by older generations who grew up in a culture where they had a rigid structure, and usually the students are not allowed to ask questions, and the teachers just give the answers, and there's not much interactions and exchange of information. Therefore, there wasn't much room for something to grow. Well, young people are the crystal generation who have a different approach, and we have more kind of a coaching style communication where the teacher and the student exchange information, and teacher sometimes asks the student what they think is good instead of teacher is teaching everything. Yeah. So young people in Japan have a different culture in a way from the old people. Yeah. Therefore, by learning the approach of young naturally conscious people, maybe we can find a healthier lifestyle than learning from older generations, in my opinion. Okay, so therefore, Ikigai Diet is based on the diet and a lifestyle of young naturally conscious people in Japan. And I wrote the book about a year ago in April 2018. And since then, I have studied more about the diet in general, and I have come up with lots of other things too. And so I wanted to check what I learned from those young naturally conscious people are true or not. Yeah. So first I looked into blue zones. Do you know anything about blue zones? No? Blue zones are 5 zones in the world where people live the longest. Yeah, so they have a very healthy diet and lifestyle too. And also I looked at some Japanese longevity zones. By the way, Okinawa is part of the blue zone. So one of the blue zones is Okinawa, Japan. So Okinawa has a good diet too. But Okinawa is not the only place in Japan. There are some other prefectures which are famous for longevity too. So I kind of studied about the longevity zones in Japan. And then now, like Mark was talking about the gut microbiota. So there is a whole new research done by Western scientists and doctors about gut microbiota, that the microbiomes in your intestines have a lot to do with your health, your condition of health. Yeah. But in Japan, intestine has been considered to be vital for many, many years. But there was no scientific explanation for it. Yeah. But now the Western scientists are saying, actually it is true that the gut microbiota is crucial. So they are kind of proving the Japanese diet or the Japanese kind of natural philosophy has maybe something to offer. Yeah. Therefore, the Ikigai diet is based on Japanese natural philosophies. where macrobiotic is based on, and a lot of the martial arts are based on, like shiatsu and other form of natural healing are based on. Yeah, which is very much related to the Chinese idea of yin and yang and 5 elements and acupuncture and stuff like that too. And also my own study of philosophy and spirituality too. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna explain each one by one. Yeah, before that, I was gonna ask you. But since you didn't know about blue zones, maybe you wouldn't know, right? Do you know where the blue zones are? I said Okinawa is one.
Okinawa?
Yeah, Okinawa.
No, I don't.
Can you guess? What?
The Amish.
Oh, Amish, yeah. Amish is not part of the blue zone, but I don't, maybe they probably have a good
I think
diet too.
they're in the pale blue zone at least.
Yeah, right.
I think that because and one of the things that they discovered about the blue zones is that it's not just the food, it's the social networking.
Right, that's true.
And in Okinawa, the old people are still meeting together with the children they knew when they were children.
Right.
And the same with the Amish. There is the community that respects and looks up to old people, not just respects but supports them and values them.
Yeah. So I'm sure Amish people probably live long and have a good diet too. Yeah, but for some reason they're not part of the blue zones. Actually, it's done by a man called Dan Butler. So he did his research to find the 5 regions in the world where people live the longest. So according to him, Amish people are not part of it.
Dan what?
Yeah, so I'm going to reveal the answer now. Yeah, Dan Butler. Yeah, if you search Dan Butler blue zones, you find lots of information on it. So Okinawa, Japan, and Sardinia, Italy, and Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Icaria, Greece, and the Seventh-day Adventist in Loma Linda, California. This is a kind of a religious, Christian religious group, but they're all vegetarians and they exercise a lot and they have a good community. And so probably similar to Amish in that sense. So I studied the lifestyle of the blue zones, and then I discovered it is pretty much the same as Ikigai Diet that I modeled from the young naturally conscious people in Japan. So that was one way of backing up the Ikigai Diet. Yeah. Okay, and then Japanese longevity prefectures. So Okinawa is one of them. However, now Okinawa isn't considered to be very healthy today. In fact, we do have a national longevity rankings, the prefectural rankings, and usually Nagano or Shiga come up, the first maybe 3. The Okinawa probably is below 10, maybe 15, or sometimes like 30 something. Partly because there's a big difference between North Island and Northern Island and Southern Island. The northern part is where people used to, where people had a very healthy lifestyle. The southern part is very much Americanized now. That's where they have lots of American bases, and the diet is very much influenced by the American culture. So they have a lot of McDonald's, people eat fast food. In fact, Okinawa has the highest obesity rate in Japan now. So I think in the 80s, Okinawa was one of the top in the longevity ranking, but in the last 10 years or so, they don't come to the top. Yeah. But it doesn't mean their diet is bad. If you go to some villages in northern part of Okinawa, you still find great diet. Yeah. And that diet is similar to Ikigai diet too. And then
a lot of pork and like it's quite sweet food as well in Okinawa.
Yeah, they do eat a lot of pork in Okinawa too. Yeah, yeah.
So that's
So the thing, one thing about blue zones too, they're not vegetarians.
right.
They do eat meat and fish occasionally, but they don't eat meat every day. So only maybe once a week or maybe like twice a month or something. So the moderation seems to be crucial to determine their health. Yeah,
and when they do eat it, the portion is quite small.
Right, yeah.
Compared to an American.
Right.
Who would eat half a cow.
Yeah. And some of them, some of them actually have a better health than vegetarians or vegans because they eat all kinds of food so they can get enough nourishment. Yeah. Because you know about sometimes it's difficult to get certain nutrients if you have a vegan diet, right? So, I mean, for like omega-3 fatty acid and stuff like that, you do need to get from fish. Yeah, and if you don't eat any fish, you can get a little from walnut and stuff, but the amount is very small compared to bluefish. So sometimes it becomes more difficult if you're vegan to gain enough nutrients. Yeah, but the people in blue zone, because they eat, occasionally meat and fish, they manage to absorb most nutrients, which are important for your health.
Do they eat cheese and milk?
In the Italy and Greece, Mediterranean culture, they do eat. So I think 2 of the places in the blue zones were in the Mediterranean area. Yeah, but they eat more goat milk and goat cheese. Okay. Yeah. But in Okinawa, I don't think they eat a lot of dairy product. Yeah. In Japan, we didn't have a dairy product until like 100 years ago. And then, so Nagano is a mountain region in Japan. In the last probably 5 years or so, has always been number 1 in the longevity ranking. And the Shiga Prefecture, where we live, became number 1 in 2017. Yeah. And there is a book called 日本一の長寿県と世界一の長寿村の腸にいい食事 which means the diet which is good for your gut based on the number 1 longevity village in the world and number 1 longevity prefecture in Japan. And then in this book, he says Nagano and Shiga are the 2 longevity prefectures in Japan. Yeah. And one thing about Shiga is Shiga's average, you have a life expectancy rate and kind of healthy expectancy rates, like 2 different things. And Shiga became number 1 for the healthy expectancy rate, which means not only you live long, but you stay healthy for a long time. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Nagano is around here. You can see. Yeah. Nagano is around here in the central Japan, about 3 to 4 hours by train from Tokyo, and there are a lot of mountains. It's the mountain regions. Therefore, people do walk a lot in the mountains too, which was another aspect of blue zones. They do walk a lot in their daily life, and some of them live in mountain villages. And Shiga is here, near Kyoto. We have a lake called Lake Biwa, which is the biggest lake in Japan. And we do have some mountains too. And what I discovered was that regardless of regions in Japan, if you live in the countryside, you had a similar lifestyle to the lifestyle of the people in the blue zones. Yeah. So they had a good diet, but they exercised regularly in their daily life, such as walking up the hill or down, or they worked in the field. Many of them grew vegetables or rice, so they worked. And some of them went to the forest and they cut trees and so on. So even like my neighbors, for example, in their 80s, they still carry chainsaw and go to mountains and cut trees. Or they work in rice field or vegetable field. And they always move. They never stop. Yeah. They're always doing something. And that is common throughout Japanese countryside. Yeah. So there are some of the aspects common in the blue zones are also common in Japanese countryside. Not only in Okinawa, but in many prefectures. Yeah. So in that sense, whether it is Nagano, Shiga, or Okinawa, or other prefectures, the country lifestyle makes us healthy too, in my opinion. However, there is another book. It's called Nihon no Chojumura, Tanmei-mura. So Japanese longevity villages and villages where people lived short. Yeah. There is a man called Shoji Kondo. Yeah. He was a doctor too. And he spent 36 years traveling around Japan and visiting 990 villages and researching the diet and lifestyle of those people. And then also he went to the town hall of each place and then asked the question about how long people lived and so on. So he discovered there are some villages where people lived long, or other villages where people didn't live long. Yeah. And then he came up with the result, which was based on diet. Yeah. And then the villages where people lived short were mostly eating white rice. So he thinks white rice is one of the causes of short life. Yeah. While the people lived long were eating, we called mugi meshi, which is a barley with rice. So, for example, in Shiga too, in the old time, they mixed white rice with white barley. And then, therefore, they weren't eating only white rice, they were also eating barley as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And according to him, they lived longer than people who were eating only white rice. And also, they were eating a lot of seaweed and a lot of vegetables too. Yeah, a lot of vegetables. Vegetables, potato type of thing, like potatoes, sweet potatoes, taros, and so on. Therefore, country lifestyle is very important, but also what you eat count. And a lot of countryside eat white rice, but white rice isn't the answer. Okay, so Japanese natural philosophies. So I said martial arts and natural medicine and Zen and other spiritual practices are all based on this, and macrobiotic and other dietary practice too. Yeah. And Ikigai Diet is in some ways very similar to macrobiotic diet because we have the same base of Japanese natural philosophies. And Western research on gut microbiota. If you read a book written by Justin and Erika Sonnenberg, it's called Good Gut. Also, they have a book called The Gut Reaction. Gut Reaction and The Good Gut. It's a good book to read. I think Gut Reaction and The Good Gut are the same book. The Gut Reaction is the new like revised version of the good gut. And you can find tons of YouTube videos on gut microbiota. Different doctors are talking about how crucial gut microbiota is.
Rob Knight in,
Yeah.
I can't remember which university, it's some American university.
Yeah.
He did research, and there was a Coursera course on that, which I did, and they said, send up your sample of poo, and we will tell you about your gut microbiome. But they wanted me to say what my diet was, but the list of diet foods was all very American, and it was things that had American trade names, and you couldn't say the things that I ate because it just wasn't on the list, so I never got to send off my sample.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We're not offering anything like that, I don't think, are we, Yoshi? We're not offering to take people's fecal samples.
No, I mean, but it would be interesting to do it. I mean, it would be, if there's a place here where they take the samples and check your microbiota to see, it would be good to do an experiment and then check your microbiota now, and then you try an Ikigai diet for a month or like a few months and then see how it changes.
Yeah.
That would be.
But I don't think you need to test because I think that, I mean, you just feel better.
Right, Okay. Yeah, and so now gut microbiota, or the gut itself, is considered to be very crucial in the West as well. But in Japan, it has been considered to be very powerful for many years. Like, hara. Hara means your belly area. So in martial art, hara is considered to be very vital. You kind of move from hara. And I used to practice shiatsu too. Even to give shiatsu, you kind of you focus your energy in your hara area and you kind of move from your hara and so on. So the hara area and sort of gut is like inside the hara, but it's considered to be very important in Japan. Yeah. And because of that, the Japanese traditional diet has a lot of elements to support our gut microbiota, including fermented food. So, to put it simply, Ikigai diet is a gut-friendly diet. It is diet to support your gut microbiota. And another person I modeled is Dr. Shinjiro Honma, who is a friend of mine too. But he is a medical doctor. He's a pediatrician. Yeah. And
is that IA at the end? Honma.
Honma M.
Oh, M. Oh, Honma.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Honma. Yeah. Honma. He's written several books in Japanese. Yeah. Including a complete guide to a lifestyle without getting sick, or diet and lifestyle without getting sick. Yeah, and he's also written books, especially for children, how to make your children's health and so on.
Have they been translated?
No, they have not been translated. Yes, unfortunately, not many Japanese books are translated into English.
This could be something for you.
Yeah, but I'm a writer.
Yes,
I'm
writing,
but I'm terrible with the translation. Somehow it's different. You use different kind of brain. Yeah, and so he has a kind of through comprehensive medical background. But great things about him is that he now lives in Tochigi Prefecture, where he practices his kind of sustainable lifestyle. Yeah, he grows vegetables using natural farming, the Kawaguchi style natural farming, also he makes fermented foods too, like he makes miso, soy sauce, and pickles, yeah. But when he does it, because he has a medical background, he kind of does his own research to sort of check, because of this, bacteria or this bacteria, that's how it works and so on. Yeah. So he wrote all those books based on his medical knowledge and his experience as a person living in the countryside. And bringing up his children too. He has about 4 and maybe 6 years old children. Yeah, he's raising them naturally too. And then, so, yeah, what he says is very similar to what I talk about. Not everything is the same, but very similar. So in other words, Ikigai Diet is also backed up by some doctors too. And my own study of philosophy and spirituality, right? So I am not a doctor, I'm not a nutrition. Yeah, I'm not expert in the field of health and medicine and so on. I am more like a philosopher. What I have been doing in the last 20 to 30 years is I've been interested in philosophy and spirituality, and a lot of books I've written are based about those things. Yeah. For example, I've written a novel called Tenjo no Symphony, which is a spiritual adventure novel where the main characters travel around the world, visiting India, Tibet, Egypt, and kind of discover some of the ancient teaching in those places. And I've written a novel called Huxhams Revolution, which is a story of building kind of a utopia. It's built in an eco-village, but this eco-village becomes sort of utopia, a new nation. So I have always been interested in how to be happy and how to make society happy. So how can we achieve personal happiness and social happiness has been my interest throughout my life. So I am more like a life philosopher, yeah. And so because of that, I cannot provide expert knowledge, right, compared to doctors or musicians, but I look at the diet from different perspectives, which is whether it will make you happy or not. Now, some experts, like some doctors or nutritionists, they tend to be too focused on their field. Because they're expert, they like to hold on to their ideas, like they think they are right. Yeah, they often think in terms of right or wrong. Is it correct? Like, because they are scientists too. This data says this, so this has to be this. Yeah, you cannot use that. It's just like it has to be this. That kind of mentality. Well, I can be more flexible because I don't have expert knowledge on this thing. I can be more flexible, but also I have a background in different fields, such as studying about economics or environment and so on. So when I look into diet, I don't look at only medical aspect. I look at social aspects and economical aspects and so many things. Now I'll give you one example. You are familiar with superfood, right? Mm-hmm. Like for example, avocado is considered to be a superfood. And many doctors recommend it because they have a great nutritional value and so on. If you look at the only nutrients, probably avocados are great, but I also look at the social aspect. Like in Japan, I think 90% of avocado we get are imported from Mexico. It's not grown in Japan, therefore it is not a local vegetable. Plus, when it becomes superfood, everybody wants to eat avocado, so it creates a big demand in Mexico. So they probably had a traditional farming there, where people were practicing like a polycultural farming. But now, avocado became a commercial farming product, and they just use a huge land only producing avocado because it's sold a lot in the West. So it can destroy a traditional farming, and so in my opinion, it isn't environmentally friendly or socially friendly. Yeah. So I'm not saying you shouldn't eat avocado. I mean, it's okay to eat avocado time to time, but if you want to base your diet on avocado, you are also creating this situation too. So maybe it's better to find something else which can be obtained in your region, which has similar nutrients or good nutrients. But that kind of thinking doesn't come from doctors or nutritionists, because I look into those areas. I incorporate those ideas into Ikigai Diet.
Do you think every culture has its own superfood?
I think so.
I mean, in a sense, yeah.
And in my opinion, there is no superfood. I mean, there are some superfood, but it is diversity is important. Yeah, you want to eat all kinds of food, not only one type of food, but many different kinds of food. Therefore, you get enough nutrients, like balanced nutrients.
Yeah.